what I wanted to do today is to basically kickstart the idea of the centralized communications team for the DAppNode DAO. In other types of DAOs, that is called that can be called as a guild or a circle. Would be like a communications guild or a communications circle. And as many people here, Dr. Excel, for example, helped me write the DAppNode DAO Season 1 proposal, which kind of like, I think it was really good. And some of the feedback that I received internally is that it was a little bit too much overarching. It was a little bit ambitious. And we should start with something small. And since we already have like some people in the community that are good at communications and they can do things, and it's actually a big need of the DAO, of DAppNode, of the project in general, we think that we could try something with a couple of months trying to see how this works. So I'm going to share now with you on the video. So let me share with you a screen, a presentation.
Yeah, here it is.
Okay, excellent. So, hey Black Swan, how you doing? So the idea was to do something on the community side, and this is important. Why? When we did an offsite in DAppNode, we sort of like identified 5 different strategies that we could use to make Dapp future-proof, or to make DAppNode part of the future that we want. And the future that we want is a future with decentralized infrastructure. There's a lot of reasons why we would like decentralized infrastructure. It's maybe not the time to do that. We should do an entire piece. Since we're the communication team, we should do an entire piece about this. But let's just say that humans are terrible at estimating tail risks. And which means that scaring them off into like this big terrible conspiracy that can be avoided by having the centralized infrastructure is not going to be enough. Like, we're not going to, even if we know that there's a possibility that everything goes to shit and the only way to save ourselves is by having the centralized infrastructure, this is not what's going to make people run nodes, because we are not calibrated to estimate the impact of such an event, such a black swan event. So we need to find other strategies to keep building onto the centralized infrastructure that do not depend on nagging people into it, on telling people or being doom bringers and telling them, oh, if you don't run the centralized infrastructure, the government can screw you up. Or if you don't run the centralized infrastructure, your data is being sold. People don't care. People have not been caring about the data for the longest time. So we need other strategies. Strategy number 1 that we use is incentives. We incentivize people to run nodes. People will run nodes if this brings them money. Incentive number 2 is simplicity. Even if you want to earn money, you actually need to make it extremely easy for people to run it. Otherwise, they will not be able to run it. And the scale that we're looking at, the centralized infrastructure, implies that a lot of people, that this is a mass market product. So simplicity is the strategy number 2. DAppNode is all about simplicity. It's all about making it extremely easy for everybody to be able to validate or any sort of decentralized infrastructure. Strategy number 3, community. We're going to get there in a minute. Strategy number 4 is partnerships, because you can see we're partnering with Gnosis Chain, we're partnering with SSV, we're partnering with a lot of other projects to bring together these incentives. And because DAppNode is not in itself anything else than a platform to make it easy, a platform for people to be able to access the centralized infrastructure, but it's not itself. DAppNode is a means, not an end. So partnerships are crucial. And number 5, education, which is also a part of what we're doing here. So strategy number 3, community, is by using the people in the DAO. As we have mentioned at the beginning of this call, we don't want anybody in the DAppNode core team to be to be a weight or to be bringing down the progress of this project. So we need to leverage this community in order to make it better. In this community, we have social media managers, copyright designers. We have people that are already nowadays giving customer support 24/7. We have people that participate in other DAOs and other projects. We have developers. We can use this as a hiring pool. We have business development. We have token engineers. We have like all this pool of talent in the community, and we're not tapping into them because we just don't have the processes. We just don't know how to tap into them. So the best practices that are around here are guilds, as we mentioned. And as I was saying before starting this and before we started the recording, is that it sort of seems that the first idea for the DAO should be something around creating guilds and iterating on the season time frame. So this is a very interesting model because it allows for fast iteration. You create something. You say like, okay, this season for the next 2 months, we're going to organize ourselves in this particular shape and form, and we will have these objectives and this budget. And you go full on this strategy for the next 2 months. But then you stop and you say like, okay, how useful was that for the broader objective of the DAO? Was it any useful at all? Was a little bit useful or was very useful? And then you iterate and change things around according to this exercise. So those are the guilds that I had in mind. Comms builders, which is developers, economics, because the node token needs some support. Guardians of Decentralization, which is a part that tries to establish DAppNode as a activist investor in other DAOs and push for decentralization in other projects. And it taps also in objective number 4, partnerships. And support, because we want to create a safe community. So summarizing, this is already what was in the first proposal of the DAppNode DAO. And the reason we would, or the way we would organize that is we would let, at least on season 1, we would let those teams organize themselves with Coordinate. We'll see how Coordinate works in a minute. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So a lot of the feedback that I got from this plan was, let me stop sharing. Well, any questions about this, first of all? This was basically a long recap of most of us already knew, because it's very similar to season 1. Good. So moving on. Or was somebody about to say something? Nope. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Moving on. Yeah, we can hear you now.
So yeah, like you said, this is pretty similar to the kind of the original proposal that we had. What is the, and maybe this is exactly what you're about to talk about, but what's the kind of the plan to get this going in a way that it didn't really seem like happened the first time around?
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with something a lot smaller. Trying to organize all the 5 teams was basically impossible, and required a bandwidth on the initial organization that just wasn't there. That's why it never happened, because nobody actually could have time to coordinate with that. Now 2 things have changed. Number 1, we have somebody that is able to push and dedicate something to making this a reality, and this person is Alex. Hi, Alex. How you doing?
Thanks, mate. Pretty honored and humbled to assume this responsibility.
Yeah. Actually, it's amazing. Like, we're going full circle because Alex was somebody that used to work with DAppNode and is the person that started all the e-commerce part of DAppNode. We would never be selling hardware if it wasn't for Alex.
Well,
and he moved on to collaborating with other projects. Has been really active in many other DAOs and many other projects around the ecosystem. And sort of like I reached out to him because we were kind of locked this DAO situation, and we were lucky enough to have that he had some availability and some hours to dedicate. So we'll be pushing this.
Coming back home.
Exactly. That note is home. So overarching the DAO, Alex will be sort of like taking a look at how we can make it better and how we can move these processes in order to make them better. But so that's the first thing that's different. The second thing that's different is that we're just going to do it, or at least that was my plan. We're going to start with something a lot smaller, which is only the communication sim, and we're just going to do it, and we're just going to start like right now by drafting and self-organizing. And if it doesn't work, then we'll iterate, and then the next time we'll start a lot more organized. But my plan was to just start right now and start creating and starting the communication here, and we'll figure it out as we go, but it's already started. So the first thing that I would like to sort of mention, or the first thing that we should guys brainstorm on. I'm going to divide the rest of the time that we have into like operational stuff and more like overarching strategy stuff. So the operational stuff will be to, if any of you is interested, to get your access, create the DApp nodes, the DApp node comms circle in Coordinape, and start parameterizing and creating a space where we can collaborate and start having the tools already ready. The step number two, or the second part that I want to dedicate this time, is in like strategy. Okay, what do we need in terms of communications, and what are the first tasks that we can start assigning? There's going to be a lot of meta tasks that are around this very same DAO. Like, okay, how do we announce that we're doing this? How do we bring other people in? And what are the topics that we want to be focusing on? But the idea is just to start. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds great, man. I think that's
music.
That was kind of the issue with the first time around, was just that we just didn't force it. We just got to force it and see what happens.
Yeah. And I'm not concerned about GB's not being here, for example, this time, because I'm sure that if he wants, we're going to do it in a way that we'll just add him at the Coordinape, and in the next sync, he'll be there, and we'll just keep rolling. And we'll record the calls, and everybody will be able to see it. So we're just going to start.
Let's go. The first step is not going to take us where we want to be, but it's going to take us apart from what we are now, where we are at now. Sorry.
Exactly.
To me, it makes sense to to make a sort of a singular primary objective for this season for the comms team. So, whether that's really clear, like we're gonna put out X number of written pieces that are going to go here and target these people, whatever it is. I think having like one very clear objective to then sort of organize around and focus on would be helpful, versus trying to organize around and then figure out what the objective is. Yeah, to me that makes more sense doing it in that order, but I don't exactly know what that objective should be. So
okay. That totally makes sense to me. So let's put the next 20 or 17 minutes onto hearing the opinions about whether this is what you other guys would also think that's interesting, or and if so, what should this primary objective would be? Max, you created a dashboard, Notion sort of like dashboard with all the information that you need to get started. I think this sort of like what you created, which you can show us in a minute, also sort of like goes into generating educational resources around dApp nodes. That could be. I'm not saying that this is the way, but that could be sort of like the primary objective, like have an extensive amount of material there on how to use dApp node and what is it used for. That could be one of the objectives.
The last days I looked where how Bankless does this, what the documentation of Bankless is, and they had a real big Notion page with under pages, and everything is clear. And this is also this decentralized organization we try to get to. So maybe this is the first step to create a dashboard with all the links to the forum, to what is important in Discord, to the docs, and maybe to other communities, to where we are related. You mentioned we have very in every aspect someone who's there, who works for SSV, who is a developer there, who does. So the connections are there. We have to get this to an easy access for everyone who is starting with staking. So this is my objective to make it more easier. And I read about. I started. I googled docs dApp node, and I saw there's a version 2. So maybe we could bring this one up and running, and a better version of the docs. So that would be an idea. And for me, it's important. dApp node stands for values, I think, and we have to be sure what values this is, to be decentralized, to be the leader. If you want to set up your staking node very easily, and have a community you can ask always, and those values we can set, and then we can go further and make other plans after this.
Yeah. Okay, so if I understand this correctly, the idea is to have like very clear what are the values or the guiding principles around dApp node. What is dApp node for? Have like very clear messaging around it, and then like structure everything around those values. Something like this dashboard. I'm just showing for the people that haven't seen it yet. Yes. The dashboard that you've done, sort of like a dApp node wiki, like first steps, connect to dApp node installation, first steps, overview. This is all in the docs actually, but yes, like maybe in like a disaggregated and hard to find way. So this puts it like all into context. Where's the community, the forum, the Twitter, YouTube channel, Medium, Discord, all the links are here. ETH Staker community, what are the related communities, dApp node documentation, FAQs, some problems, set up a VPN. Like here, you would have like the most asked questions, or the sort of like the things that people need to know when they start learning about dApp node. So I think this is a really good piece of information that we could turn it into canon. We could turn it into canon at some point and make it like a part of the official documentation, or like an official piece of documentation, or an official aid to documentation. Now, before we continue on this, I don't want to derail the topic too much. because we're actually talking about the strategy that this team, the communications guild, should have. And we can probably have like another call on more specifics around the dashboard, or we can just have all this communication. How do we include this into the kind of documentation, et cetera, et cetera. So what I'm going to take from here is I want to suss the vibe on, would education be this sort of like singular primary objective for season 1, or like organizing and creating content around that?
I think that's a great place to start. Yeah, I think that's a really good focus.
Blackstone, I know you often can't talk on the calls, but if you want to write, I'm gonna read it out loud. If you have any comments or something, you can write it in community calls text, and I'm gonna read it. Just FYI. Max, what do you think about?
Probably. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I mean, probably what wraps up most of the conversation we have had is like the need, and would be a focus for this season 1, to have some sort of decentralized comms plan. What we want to achieve, how are we going to achieve it, and define the metrics, a single, not a lot of metrics, but for example, focus if we want to provide materials or to incentivize people to go back to the streets to do meetups, to do install parties of Dabnode, to do demonstrations. If we want to be more present on press, for example, of course, organically without paying. What do we want to achieve with the comms guild that we are, even by taking the guild as a little project and establishing its mission? I mean, and its vision. Why not? Like a North Star of the people that belongs or takes part in the communications guild.
Right. So what I'm hearing here is that we also have another option apart from having like this education singular objective and try to organize ourselves around education. What you're talking about is having like starting to create a little team with its own life and guiding values and guiding principles, and a lot more flexible than just trying with education as the main topic for communication.
Yes, sort of. Still, that's not exclusive that group concludes that the best focus is in education. Like, for example, I believe it is.
Oh, right. Okay. So got it. So going one step backwards and going like, okay, so before we decide education, which might be what we decide, can we agree on some sort of like, what does this team exist for? And actually, this is an excellent step forward. Yeah. Yeah, no worries, Blackman. All good. Cool. So I actually agree that it would be nice to have like this guiding principle. And I'm going to start with something that I'm happy to be challenged on, but sort of like off the top of my head, the objective of the communications guild is to, well, apart from serving the communication needs of that node, which is broad and means absolutely fucking nothing, because there are many, something like how can we find a way of saying, letting people know how awesome Dabnode is?
Increasing visibility and education around dApp node as a product, something like that. I don't know, visibility as far as just kind of spreading educational content.
Boom. I knew that you were going to find the right way of saying it. Beautiful. That's exactly what I wanted to say. I just didn't have words for it. You can count on Dr. Self for that. Actually, I think this is a really good guiding principle because it includes other things that in the future I would like this communication guild to do, which is taking care of making sure that we're represented in events, that somebody is in the event with a dApp node flag, and I mean a literal flag, but also increase visibility in terms of appearing in podcasts, in other and crossovers in other media and other crypto media, other Discord. I think you had a really nice plan, Dr. Excel, on all the places where we could be and we could increase our presence. So all of this fits into this objective. And also education as the initial push also fits into this objective. So sort of like the guiding principle would be increasing visibility and education of dApp node as a product.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yes.
Perfect. I'm gonna start a MD. I'm gonna put that. Share the screen. Okay. Cool. Let me put that here so it'll be captured by the video. You're seeing me sharing the screen, right?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then for season 1, focus on one objective. Education materials around dApp node. I think we could fit the dashboard easily into this. Can we think about other deliverables that would be cool? I think something like videos, more video content on videos on how-tos.
Yeah, how-to videos are definitely a big one.
Yeah. I can think about a very specific sort of piece that I would like to have, which is not necessarily education, but it's sort of meta, which is to attract other people to collaborate into this DAO, and sort of like voila. It's this is probably a medium piece or blog piece. Yeah. We should probably do like some rehashing of documentation. It's pretty shit right now. I mean, like
that we've
honestly,
done in the past. Oh, go ahead. I was just gonna say the newsletter is something that we could also try to keep going.
Yes, for sure. Newsletter. Yeah. Honestly, the documentation is not shit. Everything is there. The problem is that it's not organized properly. So it's hard to get it's easy to get lost. Just wanted to say that for the record, because I actually don't think it's shit. All the information you need is there, but not even presented the right way. Okay, so we've got
physical
into 20
demos.
minutes. Physical demos, like,
I would say, yeah, to provide people materials and the means, even if they don't run themselves a DApp node, which should not be the case, to provide access to one of the association DApp nodes for people to demonstrate in little events how DApp node works and what are the benefits.
Yeah, workshops, demos, product demos. Yeah, nice, cool.
We were always, I remember back in the old times, we were like looking at the Linux install parties as something to replicate.
Yeah.
To adapt, of course.
Yeah. Not a bad idea. A little bit harder to organize, but definitely not a bad idea. Okay, so we've hit the 20 minutes, and in the interest of time, I just wanna have some time today to push for actual implementation. Like, let's do it. Let's implement it. Let's go to coordinate, and let's create a circle right now.
Yeah.
Who's going to be the admin? Do you want to have this burden on you?
So I see where you're going, and I said that I was not going to be a sort of a weight to this. I could not be the admin, but also I already created the circle. It's just empty. So switch to mainnet to continue. Okay, there we go. I mean, I think you only sign things, so point. There we go. Here we got the comms, admin, can delete this, and we're going to put add contributors. Can you send me by DM the address that you would like to use for coordinate?
Does it take ENS names, or do I need a full address?
That's a good question. Contributor
by drxl.eth.
Unresolved ENS name. Yeah, drxl.eth. Name must be at least 3 characters long. It already is. Come on. Oh, contributor name.
Maybe the contributor name. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Perfect. And I'll just grant everybody admin permissions, and we're going to try to see how this works. So you can add more people later on. Like if GBeast wants part of this, boom. Going to add another one. Max, what name would you like to be under, and what is your address? You can send it by DM. Perfect.
Yeah, Max or Jasha, you can choose. And take my Twitter handle and my Discord handle. It's easier.
Yeah. Am I writing it right? Properly? Is it well written?
Yes, it is.
Okay, good. So also admin. Boom. Beautiful. Alex. Maybe we'll see whether we do any active work in there. But if you send me yours as well, I'll just put you there. Oh, hi Juan.
I'll send it.
Hey, hi guys. Is this public or should I leave?
No, it's completely public.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah. So Juan, we're just deciding whether to create a comms team that will be managing, or will be a sort of like a decentralized, communications team as well. Here we go. So if you have any interest in participating into helping Dabnode with communications out, we're just creating the team right now. As I say, we're just moving on today. Like this. So the good thing about Coordinate, I don't know if you guys know how it works, but we're going to create an epoch, and we're going to assign tokens to each other. So if somebody is here, but they don't receive, like, they don't do any work, they will just not receive any allocation. So that's totally fine to put them here as well. So I would not be stingy by adding people to the circle, and then we will manage later on. Does that make sense?
Completely.
Right. Just saying that. Well, actually, I don't think I know you too much. So, do you want to like introduce yourself a little bit? Nope. Hopes.
Yes, that's a no. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, definitely not everybody needs to be interested in something like that. So, all good. Cool. So we have like a team here. I think you all are admins right now. So I'm gonna add. I'm not sure how to make it so you can also receive endcom settings. Yes. Circle allows me to add new members. Okay, yeah, we're all admins, so we can. This doesn't matter too much. How to opt out? The default opt-in is all members are eligible to receive endcom. Yeah. No new members need to log into Coordinate and opt in to receive endcom. So you guys need to log into Coordinate with the addresses that you've heard, and then opt in manually to receive endcom. I'm just going to put default opt-in. So endcom is the token that the name of the token that we will give to each other, and at the end of each period, at the end of each epoch, we will. So if the allocation for the team is to have, let's say, 100,000 nodes, we will split these 100,000 nodes in equal percentages of the endcom that have been allocated. So, for example, if in total we need to allocate, if we're two people and everybody has 50 endcom, and 75% go to person A and 25% go to person B, 75% of the total pot that will be distributed, the total pot of node token that will be distributed, will go to the person A because they've got 75 tokens, and 25% will go to person B. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. And the idea here is that we'll do, at the end of the epoch, we need to give this endcom token to other people. You cannot give it to yourself, so you have to appraise the other members of the team. Cool. So more operation stuff. I think this team starts right now. That's it. The epoch starts right now. But I'm not sure. Has any of you used Coordinate before?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
contributed into a team that was using Coordinate.
Perfect. Because my question would be, if we have, for example, 2 months, and we're going to do this season, it's going to last for 2 months or a month and a half, let's say. I don't know. We need to decide that. Should we make appraisals of work like every 2 weeks, or is it at the end of the epoch?
Well, the way they handled it was at the end of the epoch. I mean, since the epoch was started, you were able to give your votes to your peers, right? Since the epoch started. Although at the end of the epoch, it's when we run all the calculations and we distributed all the tokens, right?
Okay, amazing. So I guess the epoch then should be like 2 months long.
I think planning for some sort of intermediary check-ins and sort of status updates and who's doing what and what they need help with or whatever, I think is going to be kind of important. I don't think just like setting off for 2 months and then checking it at the end is I think that's obviously we need to have a big check-in at the end, but I think trying to, whether it's weekly or bi-weekly, trying to kind of all touch base and make sure we're all moving in the same direction, I think is important.
I agree. Yeah, because if not, at the end, when it happens with iterations, if they are too long, you don't remember. It's like in the retrospective, you're trying to memorize, which are the things that we've done, and you just remember the last week of the whole iteration. So if you extend the epoch, too much, probably.
Yeah, do it at any time over the week. They can appraise the other people, and every week there'll be some appraisal. I'm thinking that if we're starting on a Wednesday, for next Wednesday, there's probably not going to be much to report, but we could have the sync anyway.
Maybe 14 days is better if you have new ones
like
getting into our comms team, and maybe they only have a few hours in the week and they don't want to be every week down in an epoch, so maybe 14.
Any pros and cons over 14 days over 7?
I think 14 is good as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Then we can obviously have like syncs weekly, or even like, but that's for the people here to be decided. But yeah, the syncs are not the like Discord calls are not linked to the appraisal times, so we can also like change these at any time we want, I think. So we've just created an epoch, which repeats monthly, of 14 days, 2 weeks. We're gonna probably have to edit this later on, change it. That's totally fine. We're just gonna put these settings right now. I see Dr. Excel has already like opted in, has logged in with the address and opted in. So perfect. You are now eligible to be appraised with NCOM. We can also change the name NCOM and just give it for is of use. Give is the name that they give it. Givecom. But we only have this. I don't know, whatever. Cool. Okay, so we're all in the comms team. Anything else in terms of operations that we should do? We should probably mark a start with some tasks, which we have already did in here. We should probably start prioritizing what is best, or like if we need to meet next week and have some sort of another sync on that. What are we showing? Why are we doing a sync? Are we doing a sync to show what we have done? What I would say is like anything on this is fair game, but don't duplicate work. Like if people need to say like, okay, I'm going to be working on the newsletter, or I'm going to be working on a video. On what? I'm going to be working on the dashboard. That's probably max. Or I'm going to be working on this Medium blog piece. Obviously, the sync will happen asynchronous in the comms team, in the DAO communications team, communications guild. But it would be good to like already have like some people here that say like, so for example, dashboard. I'm just going to put Max here.
Yeah, I would run this one, and maybe we can set how much time everyone has, so we can allocate the right. Have an idea how much value someone brings and how much gift comms we can give them. So maybe so I have the weekend. Maybe I can give 5 to 10 hours now in this period to this. And so what are the other doing, and what is the hour frame they have?
Yeah, maybe we should do that as like at a show and tell. When you show the work, okay, that took me approximately like 8 hours or 5 hours more than in advance, because like my availability is not necessarily a reflection of the work that it took me. So that will help people calibrate what they need to appraise and coordinate. But also, what's good about this is that, I mean, you can say like, oh, I've spent 15 hours in there, but actually I've just made like a shitty picture. I've just done a meme. So people, even if I said that I spent 15 hours, people will be able to appraise each other on like, okay, that's a meme. It was a fun meme. I'm not going to give you 15 GiveCom. I'm going to give you two GiveCom, you know.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay.
Because like the cool thing about the coordinate is that you appraise other people's work. So, boom. Okay. Is there anybody here who'd like to use this medium piece? Start with the medium piece on how we're experimenting with the centralized team.
Yeah, I could take a crack at that. I'll need more info about what you're kind of the direction you're going, but you wanting to go with it. But yeah, I can start getting that framework together.
Sweet. Perfect. One thing that I've sort of like not touched in because I didn't have time, I've been the whole day with meetings, is how much node token are we going to give at the end? Let me have a look at that and drop it in the chat. You can always we can always discuss this asynchronously, and I say that because it's 58. We're 2 minutes to the hour, and I don't want to take more people's time. But those are the two things that I wanted to like at least have some people responsible for, or at least like know that it's been looked at, and then we can bountify the rest. When people know that they can just collaborate in here and enter the circle, they can just take all these tasks. Another thing around this is probably we should make some sort of area for where these bounties can be seen. But like, let's think about this as bounties or as like needs, so people can take those. We need to have this somewhere public. Right now, we can just start with this, posting this. We're just going to hack it from the beginning, right? Like, so if somebody feels like they want to contribute and create this, create like some sort of like a nicer place to see the bounties, boom, let's do it. I'll do it. Otherwise, we're just hacking away, and we're just going to post this HackMD onto the DAO communications channel, and that's.
I just seen, Paul, that that now Coordinate has an integration with the work, and I have to look at it.
Mm-hmm. Cool. That'd be good.
I don't really know how is that integration, but I think it will probably serve that objective of putting bounties up for grabs.
I think so too. Cool. We've reached
Wonderland. We'll have a look.
I'm happy to stay a couple more minutes. Otherwise, guys, thank you so much for starting here. If somebody needs to drop out, feel free to do that. Otherwise, I think we can spend a couple more minutes to wrap up.
Is the primary area that we're going to keep this discussion going and try to keep things organized in? Are we doing that within the DAO communications channel on Discord?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
By the way, I can take on the workshops and demos, like preparing what kind of demos, events, what would it be needed, how to provide it, and start to working a bit on that.
Perfect. Beautiful. Cool. Okay. On what you were saying, the integration with dwork, that's a pretty cool thing. Because so dwork has a Discord integration, which we can use. So dwork is like some kind of Trello for. Oops, I closed it. Damn. dwork is some kind of Trello for decentralized work. And actually, people can assign themselves some of the teams, and it's a good place to do bounties. So if we create the bounties there, we can put those, and people can self-assign themselves, and we can gate that onto giving roles to people in Discord, and only the people with those roles can assign themselves the tasks. So that would be the process. Would be we add somebody to the circle, to the com circle. Then we give them the role in the Discord, and then they will be able to assign themselves these tasks. Does that sound like a fair process? If you can look into it, Alex, that would be amazing.
Yeah, we'll have a look.